Folks, are you all ready? Is everybody all ready? Do you want me to go over the order of speakers? Okay. For those of you who were up in the courtroom for the sentencing, the Assistant U.S. Attorney who spoke at the sentencing was Adam Amir, A-M-I-R. Okay? Now the speakers out here are going to be, first off is going to be the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. That's Joseph Nocella, N-O-C-E-L-L-A, Jr. He will be followed, the second speaker will be Assistant Attorney General Tyson, T-Y-S-E-N, Duva, D-U-V-A. The third speaker is going to be the Administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration, Terrence Cole, T-E-R-R-A-N-C-E. He's going to be followed by Homeland Security Acting Deputy Executive Associate Director Matthew Milhollin, M-I-L-L-H-O-L-L-I-N. Next will be the FBI Special Agent in Charge, Jeffrey Tyler, from the FBI's Washington, D.C. field office. Next will be the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, Jason Redding Quinones. And the last speaker will be the United States Attorney for the Western District of Texas, Justin Simmons, S-I-M-M-O-N-S. We'll take a few questions at the conclusion of the speakers. There's a lot of speakers, I know. Hopefully there'll be brief remarks. But at the conclusion of the speakers, we'll take a few questions. Everybody ready? Okay, I'll bring them out now.
Good morning. I'm Joseph Nocella, the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. And with me today are Assistant Attorney General Tyson Duva of the Justice Department's Criminal Division, Terry Cole, Administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration, Matthew Milhollin from Homeland Security's Investigations, Jeffrey Tyler, Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Washington Field Office, Jason Redding Quinones, United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, and Justin Simmons, United States Attorney for the Western District of Texas. A short time ago, Ismael Zambada García, also known as El Mayo, was sentenced to life in prison. El Mayo was the world's single biggest drug trafficker this century. He joins fellow cartel leader Joaquim El Chapo Guzman in serving a life sentence following El Chapo's conviction here in Brooklyn in 2019. Over 3 decades, El Mayo and El Chapo built the Sinaloa Cartel into the largest drug trafficking organization that the world has ever seen. This criminal empire flooded the United States and the world with deadly drugs, earned billions of dollars in profits, and then laundered those billions through the financial system. El Mayo and El Chapo corrupted numerous officials in Mexico to protect their criminal empire. And when corruption did not work, they used horrific violence, including torture, kidnapping, and murder. After El Chapo's conviction here in the Eastern District of New York, El Mayo took over exclusive control of the Sinaloa Cartel. El Mayo then expanded the drug cartel's dealing to include fentanyl and other drugs, making the cartel deadlier and more profitable than ever. El Mayo continued as the cartel's leader until he was arrested in 2024. A life sentence, cut off from family, cut off from freedom, cut off from the outside world, is fitting punishment for the harm that El Mayo has caused to countless victims. During El Mayo's control of the cartel, tens of thousands of parents lost children to addiction, overdose, and drug-related violence. I hope that El Mayo's life sentence brings some small measure of comfort to those families who have suffered so much pain. The message today is clear. Drug dealing is a dead end, not just figuratively, but literally. Drug kingpins die in prison. El Mayo's fate is to die in prison. And with the amount of blood that drenches his hands, it is only fitting, and he deserves exactly that. Today's sentence reflects decades of work by dedicated public servants. Thank you to the Eastern District of New York's prosecution team, Assistant United States Attorneys Francisco Navarro, Robert Pollack, Adam Amir, Rebecca Urquiola, and Laura Mantell. The Southern District of Florida's prosecution team, Assistant United States Attorneys Monique Botera and Andrea Goldberg. The Western District of Texas's prosecution team, AUSA's Antonio Franco and Kyle Myers, and the Department of Justice trial attorneys Jace Bourne and Kirk Handrich. Thanks also to the United States Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Illinois, the Southern District of California, and the Central District of California for their contributions. Thank you also to our law enforcement partners, the FBI, HSI, and DEA, and others. Many of the law enforcement officers in these agencies risked their lives over decades to bring two of the world's most notorious drug kingpins to justice. Finally, I'd like to thank Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche for his leadership. And we'll now turn the podium over to Assistant Attorney General Duva.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. My name is Tyson Duva, and I'm the Assistant Attorney General in charge of the Criminal Division and Main Justice in Washington, D.C., and I supervise the Money Laundering, Narcotics, and Forfeiture section, which was an integral part of this prosecution. And I'm in the seat, but the real credit goes to the law enforcement officers, agents, and prosecutors for decades who worked on this case, and that is literally hundreds. They worked for 2 decades to bring this defendant, Ismael Zambada García, El Mayo, to justice today. And all of their efforts, those who are in the Department of Justice now, those who were here before in the Eastern District of New York, the Southern District of Florida, the trial attorneys in the Criminal Division, the Western District of Texas, and the other districts that Joe just mentioned, it really shows the true partnership together with DEA, HSI, and FBI, because it takes that many people, it takes the concerted effort, and it takes the teamwork to bring a narco trafficker, perhaps the worst that the world has ever seen, the most violent cartel the world has ever seen, to justice. And it happened in this historic courthouse, just like it happened many years ago with El Chapo Guzman. I've gotten to know a lot of the law enforcement officers and prosecutors who worked on this case, and it is truly historic. This defendant perpetrated unspeakable crimes and unquantifiable carnage on this country and other continents and many other countries for 50 years. Never held a legitimate job in his life. Never did anything worthwhile for any community. All he did was spread evil, poison, kill, and corrupt. His allocution at his plea hearing was very interesting. The last sentence he said, "I take responsibility for my role in all of it, and I apologize to everyone who has suffered or been affected by my actions." And that's it. I apologize. It is impossible to apologize for what this defendant did to the citizens of this country. And when you do these cases as a prosecutor and a law enforcement officer, you go all the way down to the overdose death cases that so many of us have prosecuted. And when you sit with those families who have lost a teenage daughter or son or loved one or family member to carnage like this, it changes you forever. Your loved one is gone, but you have to go on knowing that defendants like Mayo killed your child, perpetrated injustice, and didn't care one bit until you're in a courtroom getting a life sentence that he deserves. At 76 years old, we have no idea how much longer he will live, but he will spend the rest of his days in a prison cell. I want to thank the President of the United States, Donald Trump, for his unprecedented efforts for the total elimination of cartels and the efforts that he has put into the Homeland Security Task Force to further strengthen and bring law enforcement together for this purpose, to make these cases and other great cases behind them. I want to thank the Acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, for his support as well. There have been great successes in prior administrations, and particularly this administration. There have been numerable extraditions and expulsions from Mexico to investigate and prosecute drug trafficking in this level. It is unacceptable, and wherever you are, the criminal division and these great U.S. attorneys' offices will come and find you, hunt you down, and prosecute you. At this time, I'd like to turn the podium over to the DEA Administrator, Terry Cole.
Good morning. For more than 4 decades, Mayo helped transform the Sinaloa Cartel into one of the most violent and prolific criminal organizations. Under his leadership, the cartel produced and trafficked massive amounts of deadly drugs at industrial scale. Its global network moved precursor chemicals across borders, operated clandestine laboratories, and flooded American communities with fentanyl, a weapon of mass destruction. The scale and severity of that threat led to the Sinaloa Cartel being designated as a foreign terrorist organization. An operation of that size could not survive without violence and trafficking alone. Corruption was essential to Mayo's criminal enterprise. He used bribery, influence, and intimidation to shield the cartel from justice, both within Mexico and beyond its borders. The cartel continues to corrupt institutions and undermine the rule of law for its own criminal purposes. Today, Mayo answered for his crimes before an American courtroom. That outcome reflects decades of tireless work by the men and women of DEA, HSI, and the FBI, and our federal law enforcement partners around the globe. It also reflects a principle that has guided this agency since its founding. No matter how powerful traffickers become and how much wealth and influence they acquire, DEA will not relent. Whether it takes months, years, or decades, we will not stop. We will not lose focus. We do not forget. To every member of DEA, HSI, and FBI, and our prosecutorial team who played a role in this investigation, thank you. Some began this work decades ago, others carried it forward. Today, you provided that determination and an unwavering commitment to justice can overcome even the most powerful criminal organizations. Today is a great day for law enforcement, but let me be clear. This sentencing is not the end. It's just the beginning. It's a warning to every cartel leader, global criminal enterprise, and foreign terrorists. If you traffic deadly drugs, profit from the suffering of others, and threaten our communities, DEA is coming for you. Whether you're a drug trafficker or a corrupt government official, DEA is coming for you. Our work is far from over. We will disrupt your networks. We will cut off your financial lifelines, seize your illicit profits, and work with our partners to save American lives, because this is about America first, Americans first. To the mothers and families who have lost their loved ones to fentanyl, DEA will never forget your loss, and we will never stop holding those responsible accountable. Justice does not have an expiration date. Today's sentencing proves that. God bless our troops. God bless our country. And now I'd like to turn over to HSI Deputy Executive Director Matt Mulholland.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Mulholland. I am the Acting Deputy Executive Associate Director for Homeland Security Investigations. Today, the United States closes the book on one of the most violent and destructive criminal figures of our time. The most prolific drug trafficker in modern history, El Mayo. For more than 30 years, El Mayo ruled through raw terror. Under his command, the Sinaloa Cartel became a machine of brutality and greed. It armed itself like a military, stockpiled war-grade weapons, bought influence through blood money, and enforced its will through torture, murder, and intimidation. Under El Mayo's reign of terror, the Sinaloa Cartel did not just traffic drugs. It waged a sustained campaign of violence, corruption, and fear on both sides of the border. At the heart of that criminal machine was his decision to unleash fentanyl, cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine on the American and Mexican people. Nearly 20 years of HSI investigative work culminated in today's sentencing. For nearly 2 decades, HSI special agents and investigators, including some who are here today, interviewed countless witnesses, dissected every shred of evidence, and devoted themselves through sleepless nights and early mornings to make certain that El Mayo and his co-conspirators would face justice. They do it for the people whose voices have been silenced, whose lives have been shattered, and those that the cartel violence and drug poisoning has affected the most. El Mayo's rule became synonymous with entrenched public corruption, the generation of billions of dollars from fentanyl and narcotics trafficking, and unimaginable bloodshed, acts of narco-terrorism that devastated communities and claimed countless lives. Every fentanyl shipment translated into overdoses, empty chairs at dinner tables, families who will never be whole again. The graves, the relapses, the shattered lives in the United States and elsewhere are the true legacy of El Mayo. Today's monumental sentencing is the direct result of the Homeland Security Task Force. Its investigation was worked at the highest level and in the most aggressive form. HSI New York initiated and drove the long-term Mexican Federation investigation with a singular focus. Target the Sinaloa Cartel at the top, at the money, and in the infrastructure that keeps it alive. Through the Homeland Security Task Force, HSI fused its global investigative reach, its financial expertise, and border authorities with the invaluable capabilities of my colleagues from the FBI, the DEA, the U.S. Marshals Service, and attorneys from the Department of Justice. With this sentencing, we have taken one of the world's most dangerous criminals off the field permanently. He will spend the rest of his life in a United States prison, removed from the empire of violence and corruption that he created. But this is not the end of our fight. HSI, operating through the Homeland Security Task Forces, will continue to relentlessly target every layer of this cartel. There's no corner of this organization beyond our reach. No level of leadership off limits. If you lead, enable, or profit from Sinaloa cartel operations, we're coming for you. Lastly, I'd like to thank the HSI special agents and intelligence analysts and law enforcement partners who have dedicated their lives to this work. They do it for the communities torn apart by addiction and cartel violence. They do it for every victim whose life has been permanently altered by the Sinaloa Cartel's crimes and the decisions made by El Mayo. The man who helped cause so much of this devastation will never direct violence again, never again profit from American deaths, and never again operate under the illusion that he is untouchable. HSI will not stop. Not with the Sinaloa Cartel, not with any cartel. Thank you. Next is the Special Agent in Charge for the Washington Field Office of the FBI, Special Agent in Charge Tyler.
Thank you, Matt, and good morning. I'm Jeff Tyler, Special Agent in Charge of the FBI's Washington Field Office Criminal Division. I'm grateful to stand shoulder to shoulder with our partners today as we announce this historic sentencing, a life sentence for a lifetime of crime. El Mayo's rise to power began when he and El Chapo founded the Sinaloa Cartel in the late 1980s. Through bribery, corruption, and violence, they built the cartel into one of the largest drug trafficking organizations in the world. As my colleague said, the Sinaloa Cartel has trafficked in tens of thousands of tons of drugs, including cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl, into the United States, all while laundering billions of dollars of illicit proceeds back to Mexico. With El Mayo's sentencing today, both founders of the world's most notorious cartel will spend the rest of their lives in American prisons. His sentence is a win for the dozens of law enforcement officers and attorneys who spent decades working on this case. It's also a victory for every American family who has lost a loved one to a drug overdose, and every Mexican community that has lived under the fear of cartel violence. I'd like to thank the DEA, HSI, my colleagues at the FBI, and U.S. Attorney's offices from coast to coast, and all of our other partners who played a vital role in bringing El Mayo to justice. I'd like to thank our Homeland Security Task Force partners who are working with us every day toward our goal of eliminating criminal organizations like the Sinaloa Cartel. We can't recover all the blood under El Mayo's command, but we can continue to pour our collective resources into dismantling the cartel that he built. The sentences of El Chapo and El Mayo should serve as a warning to their sons and other faction leaders who seek to preserve the cartel. If you continue to traffic in brutality, if you continue to choose violence over law and order, we won't stop until we bring you to justice. I will now turn the podium over to United States Attorney Jason Redding, Quinones, Southern District of Florida.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Jason Redding Quinones. I'm the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. Thank you all for being here today. Today, Ismael Mario Zambada García received the only sentence equal to the life he chose, life in federal prison. The court also ordered $15 billion in forfeiture judgment against him. For nearly 4 decades, he led the Sinaloa Cartel as it poured. We're here in New York. There's always going to be a couple distractions on the noise, so please bear with us. For over 4 decades, he led the Sinaloa Cartel, and he poured fentanyl, cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamines into American communities, laundered billions of dollars, corrupted public officials, and used violence and murder to protect his power. Today is also an important day for the Southern District of Florida. We were not bystanders in this prosecution. Our prosecutors were part of a joint team that built this case and carried it over many years. Assistant United States Attorneys Monique Butero, Andrea Goldberg worked tirelessly with our partners here in Brooklyn, in Texas, at the DA, at HSI, and at FBI to bring one of the world's most powerful cartel leaders to justice. And this is what the Southern District of Florida does at its best. We pursue transnational criminals at the highest levels. We follow the drugs and money across borders, and we stay with the difficult cases until justice is done. And Mayo thought he was beyond our reach, and he was wrong. Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce my great partner, Justin Simmons, the United States Attorney for the Western District of Texas.
Thank you. My name is Justin Simmons, United States Attorney from the Western District of Texas. It's good to be with you here today. I also want to thank our great partners here in the Eastern District of New York and so many other offices, including the Southern District of Florida across this country that worked so hard for so many years to put this case together. Also want to thank all of our law enforcement partners that are present here today for their diligent work on the streets, building these cases over many, many years. It is good and right that we are here today. Juarez, Mexico, which is just across the border from El Paso, Texas, which is in the Western District of Texas, is one of the main corridors for the Sinaloa Cartel to move drugs, humans, and so many other things across the border, both going north into the United States and south from the United States into Mexico, including guns and money. AUSA's Tony Franco and other AUSAs in our office worked for years to put this case together. And one of those charges that was filed in the Western District of Texas, Ismael Zambada García pled guilty to last year and was sentenced on today. This was great work by everyone involved again. And like I said, it is good and right that we are here today, that we revel in the downfall of this man, because it is always good for those who love the light to revel in the downfall of those who thrive in the darkness. And that's why we are all here. He's done so much harm, as so many people have already said, to so many of his fellow countrymen, but also so many Americans who died at the hands of the poison he moved across the border, the tons and tons of kilograms of poison he moved across the border for so many years. But as Administrator Cole said, this is not the end of the story. This administration under President Trump's leadership and this Department of Justice under the leadership of Acting Attorney General Blanche are just getting warmed up. Over the last year or so, 90+ cartel leaders have been extradited to the United States. They are here now to face justice at the hand of American judges, American prosecutors, and American juries. With 660 miles of U.S. border in the Western District of Texas, many of those cartel leaders will be prosecuted in the Western District of Texas. These cartel leaders have murdered thousands of their countrymen. They've moved thousands of tons of drugs across the border. They've moved millions of illegal aliens into the United States. And they've stolen oil, millions of barrels of oil and oil derivatives from this country to line their own pockets. So that's where Western District of Texas AUSAs are focused. We're focused on hitting these cartels where it counts, right in the pocketbook. So we're working with our law enforcement partners to interdict those drug shipments, to interdict those alien shipments, to run down those stash houses that are all along the border, to stop the flow of guns, money, and oil going south. This will result in billions of dollars that the cartel will lose by our activities and that they've already lost. To that end, AUSAs in the Western District of Texas filed the first material support of a foreign terrorist organization charge in the United States against a Mexican drug cartel last year. We're continuing to do that on a daily basis. So in closing, again, I'm proud to be here today with my friends and colleagues. This is a great victory for everyone here, but it's a great victory for the American people. But more than that, I'm excited to get back to work tomorrow and put away those 90 other cartel leaders that were sent across over the last year. They have a date with justice awaiting, just like Mayo Zambada did today, and we're happy to meet them on that date. The message to those that are still operating and supporting these cartels: you may think you're shielded from justice like you have been for many years. Mayo Zambada thought the same not too long ago. He doesn't think that now. You're no longer safe from the long arm of the United States Department of Justice. Thank you very much. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Nacella to close out. Yes.
Mr. Cole, if you don't mind, I know you addressed the question to Mr. Cole. Unfortunately, ongoing investigations or even their existence is not something that we are at liberty to disclose. We cannot comment any further.
So thank you, Mr. U.S. Attorney. And as the U.S. Attorney pointed out, we can't talk about active investigations. We're here for a historic day. You heard he pled guilty today. We all know what the Sinaloa Cartel is about. We know about the death and destruction they send across the border. We know about the poison they send with fentanyl. We know there's a deadly connection there, but I'm not going to comment on any active cases or how we're moving forward. Today's an historic day for law enforcement, historic day for the prosecutors. This team did an amazing job. We will continue to stay on the offensive to protect our citizens because, as I stated, this is about America first. This is about Americans first. And under a current president who has our back, an attorney general that has our back, law enforcement is going to do what's right to protect our citizens in our country from this deadly poison that was coming across the border. Thank you.
Excuse me? Yes, ma'am.
Will this life sentence disrupt chain of command? That's my first question. And the second one, how will you...
I'm sorry, repeat your first question.
Will this life sentence disrupt his chain of command, given that some people can be concerned about the ability of him operating from inside prison? And the second one, how will you ensure his $15 billion penalty will be hit in tangible assets?
With respect to your first question, the chain of command has already been disrupted. There is currently different factions fighting over control of the Sinaloa Cartel. That matter is under investigation, and beyond what I've just said, I can't elaborate any further. That is also true about the forfeiture action. That is an ongoing matter, and I cannot elaborate any further, other than to say that we are doing all that we can. We are doing all that we can. We are. It's actively under investigation. That's all I can tell you.
Sir, is the U.S. government later to offer any detail about how Mario Zambada was detained, the whole operation in Mexico, and how it became innocent participants?
What I can tell you is that Joaquin Guzman Lopez, El Chapo's son, when he pled guilty, allocuted and stated that he orchestrated the kidnapping of El Mayo, and he also stated that he was hoping to gain favor from the United States government for having done so. The United States made perfectly clear that we do not condone kidnapping and that he would receive no credit for anything that he did along those lines.
Excuse me, can you elaborate on whether the FBI or HSI knew of the looming kidnapping that was about to happen, or if any U.S. government agencies were aware that this kidnapping by Mr. Guzman was going to take place prior to it happening?
I was able to tell you what was stated in the public record, but beyond that, I can't say anything further because it is a matter of continuing investigation.
So we heard today Judge Hogan say that he would consider, and also mention that considering his health and his age, the BOP would recommend for BOP to make that decision. But I know in the response from the first letter of sentence, the defendant said that they were mentioning that in the response, you guys mentioned something about security concerns that you guys have regarding what facility El Mayo could be sent. Is that still a concern that you guys have regarding security, given that he might get sent to a medical facility?
Security is always a concern. and the decision as to exactly where he will be housed will be made, as Judge Kogan did observe, by the Bureau of Prisons.
Last question.
Any other questions?
Last question. There is one.
Very good. Thank you all. Have a good day.